World leaders pay tribute to Pope Francis. Pope Francis died on Easter Monday, the 21st of April, 2025, at the age of 88 at his residence in the Vatican's Casa Santa Marta building. The Pope's death comes less than 24 hours after he made an appearance at the Vatican's St. Peter's Square on Easter Sunday. He came out in a wheelchair and waved from the balcony of St. Peter's Basilica to cheering crowds, wishing those gathered a happy Easter. French President Emmanuel Macron is among the first world leaders to pay tribute to Pope Francis, calling him a man of humility, on the side of the most vulnerable and most fragile. Dutch Prime Minister Dick Schoof says he was in every way a man of the people. European Parliament President Roberta Metsola says his contagious smile captured millions of people's hearts across the globe. Israeli President Isaac Herzog hails his boundless compassion. Swiss President Karen Keller-Sutter says Pope Francis was a great spiritual leader, a tireless advocate for peace. Scottish First Minister John Swinney describes him as a voice for peace, tolerance and reconciliation. Archbishop of York Stephen Cottrell, who is the acting head of the Church of England, has paid tribute to Pope Francis. In a statement, the Archbishop commends Francis's service of the poor, his love of neighbor, especially the displaced, migrant, the asylum seeker, his deep compassion for the well-being of the earth and his desire to lead and build the Church in new ways. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni says this news saddens us deeply. I had the privilege of enjoying his friendship, she says in a statement. He asked the world, once again, for the courage to change direction, to follow a path that does not destroy, but cultivates, repairs, protects, she adds. His teaching and his legacy will not be lost. We greet the Holy Father with hearts full of sadness, but we know that he is now in the peace of the Lord. More reaction from world leaders now, as Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez hails Pope Francis's commitment to the most vulnerable. In a post on the social media platform X, Sánchez writes, I mourn the passing of Pope Francis. His commitment to peace, social justice, and the most vulnerable leaves a profound legacy. Rest in peace. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen says he inspired millions, far beyond the Catholic Church, with his humility and love so pure for the less fortunate. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi says he is deeply pained by the Pope's passing. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk remembers him as a good, warm and sensitive man. Egypt's President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi says Pope Francis was a voice of peace, love and compassion. U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance, who had a brief private meeting with Pope Francis yesterday, says he has just learned of the pontiff's passing. My heart goes out to the millions of Christians all over the world who loved him, he says. Vance arrived in Rome on Friday, before meeting with Vatican officials and Pope Francis over the weekend. The leaders of UK political parties have praised Pope Francis's courage and leadership. Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch pays tribute to the pontiff's humility, courage and conviction. Leader of the Liberal Democrats, Sir Ed Davey, calls Pope Francis a leader of compassion and courage. Reform UK leader Nigel Farage says his sympathies go out to all in the Catholic Church. Green Party co-leader Adrian Ramsey praises the Pope's commitment to addressing both the climate crisis and poverty around the world. Welsh First Minister Eluned Morgan praises the late Pope's example of compassionate leadership. Rest in peace, Pope Francis, the White House writes in a post on X. The message is shared alongside two pictures. One of the pontiff meeting U.S. President Donald Trump and his wife Melania, and another from Vice President J.D. Vance's visit to the Vatican yesterday. Moscow's Patriarchate says Pope Francis played a significant role in active development of contacts between the Russian Orthodox Church and the Roman Catholic Church, Russian news agency TASS reports. The Latin Patriarchate of Jerusalem says a Mass will take place at the Basilica of the Holy Sepulchre on Wednesday. The Jesuits in Britain says it is grateful for the gift of Pope Francis's leadership. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has paid tribute to Pope Francis, saying, he knew how to give hope, ease suffering through prayer, and foster unity. Russian President Vladimir Putin remembers Pope Francis as a defender of the highest values of humanism and justice, the Kremlin says. It adds that Putin had the privilege of communication with this outstanding man on many occasions. The Russian president will forever retain the fondest memory of him, the Kremlin says. UK Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer, in a post on X, Starmer says he is deeply saddened to hear of the death of His Holiness Pope Francis. His tireless efforts to promote a world that is fairer for all will leave a lasting legacy. The Union flag will be flown half-mast at royal residences where King Charles III is not in residence, to mark the Pope's passing.